Okay, folks, we're going to do something a little bit different. It's been a little bit of a while since I've been able to do a online video for multiple reasons. Honestly, I've just been too busy. Just haven't had enough time. So, why have I been too busy? Well, we are on the cusp of moving. I talked about it several times before that we were looking to move out of the house that we've been in for a little over 20 years. And we're going to be closing at the end of the month. So on the 28th, we're moving out of this place. And one of the tasks that I have to do this weekend is pack my room up, which is going to be, it's not going to be a lot of fun. I'm probably going to have to be intoxicated just so it's not the mental anguish. But it's honestly pretty well. I've taken some things out of here before in purge, but you say the final purge, but we're moving about 15 miles north of here and in the same town that my wife and I work in, so that makes more sense. The room should be better for hobbying, and I will do a tour here and show you what I've got a pretty good spot here, but it's got its limitations. The other place has less limitations. However, it has one bit of bad news. One bit of bad news, and that is the internet. I don't know how. I just don't think it's going to be to the same level that this one is. I've been very happy with this internet, even though it was garbage for many, 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 many years. We finally got that resolved. And I'm not looking forward to taking a step back, and I have a feeling that it is going to be a step back, but hopefully not. We're going to look for other alternatives as well. But as far as hobby space, programming that I'm going to be able to share with you guys, it should be better. The layout is more conducive to having a bigger desk area, although I really don't have any complaints because I got a pretty good setup here. But anyways, we can talk about that and what I have and what I've been working on the last year. This is kind of a year of change for me. I did something different for the last, it's been almost exactly a year since since I left the game that I've been playing for 18 years, and it was the right decision. It was definitely the right decision for me, and but I'll show you the stuff that if you haven't tuned into my show, what I've been working on. I've got another light source here, so hopefully that'll brighten up the area where that goes in, and you guys can see some of that stuff. And I did want to do this final. I may do a video over the weekend, but we'll call this the official final video in this room. And hopefully the other one will be better. It'll be a little different. There won't be a couch on there, but anyhow. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to sign in there and ask the questions, and we'll get to those as we get on there. This is just going to be kind of a loose programming thing. I didn't want to create a lot of homework for myself and have to make an outline or anything. I like to basically do things seat of the pants. It's more real that way. And if I wanted to do a lot more outlines, then I'd have a doctorate. So anyhow, without further ado, this is the painting area that you guys know, and I've got my phone connected through Wi-Fi so that I can disconnect it from the computer, and we should be okay because we're going to travel with it, and hopefully I'm not too shaky with it. And I'm doing this for me too, because I might want to look at, hey, this is what this room looked like, 5 or 6 years ago. But this has done me well. I've created a lot of things that have made me pretty happy over the last years here. And anyhow, so let me try one thing first, and I'm going to disconnect the phone and confirm that we would still be connected. We are still connected, okay? And there is the computer, of course. All right, so in a nutshell, this is my painting desk that I do everything with. This is an additional light I added here for some clarity. If you hear any banging in the back room, that's in the other rooms. That's my wife putting some of the other rooms away. We got what, like 2 weeks basically to get out of here. So this is the and there's lots of ideas for painting desks all over the internet and setup. So I am going to be really careful about what I'm getting myself into. I don't, as I like to say, I don't like to. You finally get to ask the tough questions. There you go. Are you man enough to ask the tough questions? There's lots of ideas on the internet for setup areas for paints and stuff like that. I've been pretty happy with this setup myself. I am looking to do a little bit more organizing, but I don't want to, as I like to say, throw money at the problem. So I'm going to buy things as I need them, not just start throwing a bunch of stuff on here. But in a nutshell, this is my painting desk that I've been very happy with. It is an IKEA painting desk. Well, actually, I think it was a drafting table with adjustable legs. Okay, and they can adjust. They basically, you can twist them around and they can go up and down. It's jacked up as high as it'll go, which basically is 36 inches here to the top of the desk here, because you want it as high as you can so that you're not stooped over and have a neck ache. As a matter of fact, this chair, which has seen better days, unfortunately, I don't like when you try to take care of things and they tear up, But anyhow, so I've got this jacked up as low as it'll go, so 18 inches. So we got 18 inches from here to the floor and 18 inches from here to this, and that works pretty well. I was working on some hobbying stuff a couple of months ago, and for whatever reason, I decided to jack this up a couple inches. And just 2 inches, I got a crick in my neck, and I was in pain for a few days. So I'm trying to be careful with that. So this is my setup. I think it was $99 at IKEA. It doesn't do anything fancy other than it is solid and it's just the right height. And I've been really happy with that. It's 2x4, and I'm planning on probably getting another one unless I go in a different direction and just put them side by side, because that room is actually set up quite differently than this one. And let me just do a little zoom out here, and hopefully you'll still hear me on the microphone. So this room is basically 11 by 11, so forth. Okay, and we'll go into detail on some of the items here. This lamp that's over here is normally not here. I just have that for additional lighting that we're going to use when we're going to look at things in the display case. All right, but this is an 11 by 11 room, which is plenty big. However, it has a lot of areas that are not usable for hobbying. Like, for instance, in front of the window. You can use in front of the window, but then you're going to have to put your hobby desk in front of that. It has 2 openings. One of them, this goes into the main living room, and this actually goes into the master bath, which is kind of hallway-ish and connects eventually into the master bedroom. And then you've got this little area here that I managed to put the display case for this. You got these closets that are not very useful. We were not going to show you what's in there because it is literally like just shove things in there. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse, but nobody is sequestered in there that you care about, so don't worry about it. Hat rack. Basically I wear hats when I take a shower and put one on like I am now. And of course the on the air sign and the bookshelf of the books that have survived. We'll take a look at those some as well. My little cart that could be a little bit more organized, but it happens. And of course the paint stuff. So one of the things that I definitely want to do is get one of those paint organizers that these go directly into slots. And there's all kinds of different price points for those. Now, this has actually served me well, and the advantage that this has is that I don't have to decide in advance, okay, I want to get one that holds 72 Vallejos or the other brand, the other Spanish brand, whatever the hell they're called. I forget them right now. The bottle drop type, and then however many ones for the Citadel and stuff like that in advance. I can just kind of put them in whatever order I want. Now, this is actually a desktop organizer. Let's see if I can show you the sides. It's actually tapered. It's thinner here. It's thinner here than it is at the bottom, and it's actually meant for the back of this to sit on the desk. So in other words, this would actually be the top, and it would be sitting on your desk. I just turned it vertically, and it's actually served me really well. I got it at Michael's, and it was relatively inexpensive. It was, I don't know, I want to say it was like $8, or it was certainly less than $10. And I got 2 of them, and it's actually served me well. I got the light in between them. You know, OttLight, I'm a big fan of OttLight. I had an old drafting lamp from the 1960s that my dad gave me, and I used it for many, many years. And that served me well until it didn't. And I went to the OttLight, actually picked up 2 of them. There's another one over there. That one doesn't get used as much unless I'm going to go play a game and I bring that to the table. Marcus, welcome. Yeah, so this is kind of my setup, and it's actually worked pretty well. I've been pretty happy with it. The only thing that I really added for an addition is these little things, which I recommend no matter what you have. Definitely get these. They're available at IKEA. They're also available on Amazon, and all it is just something you can put a cup on here. You can put water in it. I'm using one of them for water, and that way you don't have your water on the table, you know, where you can accidentally spill it. Well, it takes a little bit. We're going to put this down. Look at the ceiling. Reach for the sky. It just makes it a little bit more difficult to make a mess unintentionally. So we're going to put our Coke back in there. All right. And this has worked pretty well for me. This setup. You can repurpose those shelves to better house your tools and such. I want to get. Well, the setup of the other room is totally different. It's funny because the other room is actually smaller. The other room is like 9 feet wide in this dimension here, where there's a window, but the window is only a half window. So I'm going to be able to put the table underneath that particular window. I'll probably do a video before I do anything to it when I'm over there at the end of the month. And so I'll be able to repurpose the long wall for it. It's going to have this corner over here. The opening to it is really kind of strange. But I'm going to be able to put this display case over here up in this corner of that particular room. And it should work pretty well. It should have a lot more workable space. Like I said, I really can't put more desk space here unless I decide to put it in front of the window, in which case there's no place to put the couch. Honestly, the couch has come in pretty handy. I've had to spend many a night on the couch. And not because I've misbehaved, but just because somebody's sick, and it's actually pretty comfortable. Even though I put a cover on it because we actually got this from somebody else. I don't know if you can see this. I don't really want, it doesn't really go with the motif there. You know, it's kind of like a peach anything, but it's a pretty comfortable couch, honestly. So books, I don't think I'm going to be able to cut my books down any more than I already have. These are the Osprey books that I currently have. And hold on a second, I'm going to put this down and we're going to plug the OttLight over here and get some more lighting on it. And of course, I'm a huge fan of ceiling fans. I don't know how people can survive in a room without a ceiling fan. That is just barbaric. All right, I think that if I put this like this and that light there, then we should be able to get some decent lighting. These OttLights really are great for getting this stuff across. So here's the Osprey books that I've managed to hang on to. And of course a bunch of ancient medieval stuff that I got no plans to work on any of that stuff anytime soon. A lot of these I've gotten at a used bookstore they have in Jacksonville. That's relatively inexpensive. So you can pick up some of these for like $5, and yeah, they're used, but it's more like an unloved bookstore more than a used bookstore. So all of these I've gotten. I've not paid retail price for them. I don't need them that badly. All of my armies and ancients of the Mideast, Middle Ages, Dark Ages, Macedonian, feudal Europe, all those things. Some of these compilation ones, Lion Rampant, Gaslands. I think I may not have some of them. Some of my World War IIs are not here. They're over on the other. Location, over across on the display case over there at the bottom there. The talk louder. You know how loud I am? I'm a loud mother. All right, let's bring the mic up closer. I don't know if it's going to do any good, but here's some other books that I have. Some of the ones here for the work. You know what I can do? Let's see if that's better. The mic is not in one direction, but it's all 360. I don't know if that makes a difference, but there it is. Games Workshop, Ancient Battles. These aren't available anymore, whatever these are called, Warhammer Ancients. Warhammer Historicals. Got a few of those. These Foundry books are really expensive. None of this stuff is stuff that I want to get rid of. So basically, this is the ancient and medieval stuff. These two sides. We've got all our naval stuff here that I've had over the years. The Conways, the Janes. The Janes are basically not very useful. The Conways are the latest and greatest. I don't know. There may be something better out there now, but in the early 90s, it was basically the best thing out there for reference material. Assorted books here of different naval stuff that I picked up. My World War II stuff is down here at the underneath. And I've had these things I haven't bought any of these in 25 years probably. And there's just no reason to get rid of them. These reference books, Russian Tanks, Armored Vehicles, the equivalent one, which is the Encyclopedia of German Tanks of World War II here. There's an Allied one as well, and it should be right there, and I don't know why it's not there, but it's there somewhere. Where is it? Is it down there in the bottom one? I don't know. It's kind of, here it is. British and American tanks in World War II. No love for the Italians and Japanese, don't have any stuff on them. But, those things 20 years ago were a lot more useful than they could be now. Because now, what's the first place I go to? The internet. You go on the internet and that's where you look for things. But I may get rid of a few things because I really don't want it on the bookshelf, and I've got some of the books like the ones I just picked up at the last convention that I don't have a place for at this moment. So, that's my World War II stuff. And some of these, the bottoms are atlases and books that I got from my dad when he passed away that I just wasn't going to let them go away. So stuff like the Explorers of the World and just stuff that I had in my childhood that I remember him having, and I just kind of held on to them because for nothing other. Stuff like this Tanks of World War II book, not very useful, very vague stuff. If it has color pictures in it, the colors are wrong, that kind of stuff. But that's basically, for the most part, my book collection of, I don't know if it's a collection, it's really my reference material. And, some of the coolest things were stuff like this, Red Army and color photographs. you know, you've got these reenactors that are wearing actual gear in actual photographs, hence the name of the book. You know, stuff like this was really useful pre-internet, you know. You know, I've got one on the GIs, I've got one on the Germans. They always have more German shit than anything else. World War II GI and color photographs. It's a cool book, you know. I don't know if they still make these things, probably, you know. These are from the mid-90s when I got them. We'll put that away later. Hard to do with one hand, especially if my one hand is the left hand. Cart that needs to be kind of sorted out. That's pretty much this wall right here of this stuff. Could be your headphones. Headphones usually last a couple of years. Notice setback starting to happen. Yep, be right back. Yep, you might have to watch this anyway. So, diploma, whoop-de-doo. I'm not defined by what I do for a living. A few awards up here that I decided to keep. I only kept some of them up here. I had a whole wall of them, and I'm like, nah, I don't need all that stuff. Especially since I don't do that stuff. Who wrote the Uniforms of World War II book you have? I'm curious about it. Can you show some of the content in it, please? Can we go back to it? Nah, we'll do it now. Uniforms of World War II book. Which one? Yeah, maybe a lot. This one's a classic. This book, I don't know if you're talking about this one. This is literally what it's called, Uniforms of World War II. I actually love this book. It's one that is actually a really common book in many places. And what I mean by that is you'll see what I'm talking about. It actually is like colored photographs. So these are like photographs that you may have seen somewhere in black and white, you know, period photographs, right? And they went in and colored them. And I really like the way it's done in. This particular book is a Peter Darman, and let's see, Chartwell Books. I've seen these in all kinds. This particular printing is 1998, and it has all kinds of stuff. I mean, we even have Slovak Army. Now there might only be like one photograph of the Slovak Army, but there's all kinds of stuff. Finns, Hungarians, Gurkhas, all kinds of different stuff. And it's basically, this is a photograph that somebody came in and colored it up. And, you know, this is a relatively inexpensive book. I think this is probably something like $20 or something like that. I don't think it's ever sold for more than $20, maybe 24. But, you know, it's just kind of, you know, generic kind of stuff. So, is that the one you were asking for? Poland, North France, East Front 42. So, okay, that's the one that's pulled out. Yeah, it's a good one, and it's been. I'm sure that this book was done in different iterations by different names, because I've seen these colorized photographs in many different places over the years. So anyhow, okay. So let's put the book back. That's how you get in a mess. And we're gonna I gotta package all this stuff in small boxes because books weigh a metric ton. We're gonna pull this lighting source here. We're gonna go over and bring it over on this side. And we can talk about the stuff that we've worked on in the last year, which, if you guys have seen my programming, you know. I lost count. I did over 100 vehicles. I didn't paint all of them because here towards the end I knew the move was coming, and let's make sure we hold this the correct way. Okay, it is the correct way. Excellent. All right, let's point the mic in this direction, and I'm going to move the camera a little bit so I can at least see on the screen what I'm showing you, so that it's not out of, let's turn it a little bit more. Okay. All right, so this is probably the latest thing that I got was this particular display case, which was from IKEA. I forget, it was like 140 bucks. It was relatively inexpensive. It was all particle board, and it was not made in China. It's made in Italy, miraculously so. But here's some of my DVA armies, and I don't know if I'm going to be blocking my own light. Let's see if I can move this a little bit so that I don't block my own light. And let's see what you guys are seeing. I think that's probably going to be good enough. So here's some of my Chinese here on the left. My Sung Dynasty Chinese. My, well, I decided to call these the Southern Dynasty Chinese. Even though there was no reference on it, I just did my artistic license on them. We got the Ottomans in Spanish, mortal enemies hanging out next to each other. And next to the Ottoman Turks and the Irish. So you can see the Halloween decorations there towards the back. This is kind of the overflow of my 15mm army area. The other one is in the main room. Not going to show you that one. It's a war zone out there. It's a war zone with things that are being taken apart. The only problem with this display thing is that for whatever reason, dust gets in here. And I don't know why. It can't be just from that little hole that's in the back. But for some reason, there is dust that gets in here. So, and I know that this house in particular is very, very dusty. It has these areas above that just, if you went up there, there's probably an inch of dust on there. And, I'm pretty sure the next house will not be as dusty. But anyhow, let's not trip over the cord. Can I attach this from the other direction? I bet I can. Let me unplug this, plug it in from the other direction. See if we have better results. That would be a bad result. Come on, just inches too short? You get that a lot. If you're gonna be short by a lot, not just inches. All right. This open anymore? No. Yeah, that's not gonna work either. In typical fashion, we wing everything here. Let's do it from this direction and hope for the best. That's what makes my channel real. We make mistakes and shit happens. And sometimes the shit happens to you. All right, let's make sure we got this picked up in the correct direction. Okay, perfect. All right, so as we continue, we've got some of the camps, so to speak, that were aquarium ornaments. Those two in the back were aquarium ornaments aquarium ornaments that we repurposed, and some other buildings. That was something from the dollar store at church. But we've got, what do we got here? We got Huns. Yeah, we've got the Huns, and we got some Byzantines there, and then we got the Pope. And then down here we've got right to left Hungarians, Burgundians, and French ordonnance. This is the overflow of my 15mm armies that I really have no plans in the future to play with them, and I'm okay with that. I've enjoyed them throughout the years. They're not for sale, but I'm not going to, as much as I enjoyed playing with them, I don't want to continue down this road where it's going to keep me from doing all this other stuff that's down here that we would have never done if we would have kept doing that. Okay, and like I've said before, I am a World War II gamer at heart, and here's all my World War II stuff that I've done in the last year. Save these figures, okay, not counting these figures that were done in the 1990s. All this other armor was done in the last year, basically, when I stopped painting stuff for DVA. And I've kind of have it broken down. Now, I am going to have to move all this stuff. I'm probably not planning on traveling with my figures ever again. I'm not going to bring them to shows. I'm not going to bring them to somebody else's house. I'll put games on in my house, or we'll just collect them. But I did have the foresight to every single one of them is on magnets. And that's gonna come in handy because I'm gonna buy, well, I've got a few, but I'm gonna need a few more. Basically the cake pans, with covers to move them with. So all this stuff will be able to move to the new location safely. Okay, so here is the Panzer Yellow Land. These are, and like I said, all this stuff I have, almost all of them were built, some of them were pre-built, but definitely all painted in the last year. It's been almost exactly a year since I stopped painting it, so stopped painting the 15mm stuff. So, I stopped building DBA stuff, right? So I would have had like 2 more armies. So instead of having 2 more DBA armies, I got all this friggin' armor. I think that's a pretty good trade. So, but anyhow, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. And so here is my Panzer Yellow, my Dunkelgelb land. And these are all 1/72, 1/76, 20mm, however you want to call it. That's the scale that I like. That's what I started with. That's what I'm going to continue with. And I've got lots of other vehicles that I've built. They're just not finished. Mainly due to the move. But we'll get to them. We'll get to them soon. Here is the Panzer Gray stuff. These are the old Airfix, or MPC as we used to call them, Opel Blitz trucks with no windshield. And I think they turned out pretty well, considering how aged they are. And some more armored cars and stuff like that down here. Let's see if we can get the right position. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. And some Americans. Why don't I have more Americans? Well, I just got on a tear, like I'm going to be doing Eastern Front stuff, but I have like 3 or 4 more American half tracks or something like that. But I do like doing the American stuff, and not because I'm American. I like doing the American stuff because people have this idea that it's boring, and it can be if you just make it boring. The German stuff paints itself. It's got a lot of character, and and they're really popular because of the different camouflage schemes, and a lot of the stuff is cool. But the Soviets, the American stuff are actually my favorite stuff to paint because they are drab, and it's like an opportunity to put kind of your own little spin on them and give them, and give them some interest. So, and speaking of Soviets, here's the other bad guys over here. And these are all, again, a mixture of 1/76 scale, 20mm, 1/72, even some 1/87 scale. These T-35s are 1/87. And yeah, they're a little small, but hey, it's a playing piece. They look okay. These T-28s that are up here, they're also 1/87 scale. The French destroyed cottage, it's nearly done. It's not completely done, but it's nearly done. The move was coming. It's just a matter of like, okay, do I really want to have stuff strewn everywhere in the middle of a bunch of different projects? Not really. So that's kind of why things kind of happen the way they are. But all this stuff is magnetized. Well, the French cottage is magnetized. But all these other armies, pieces, even these, even the castle, all this other stuff is magnetized. So to make it easy, specifically for this, to be able to do a move, put them in a pan, they're not going to bang into each other, and have to get there and repair them. I'm not interested in repairing them. So, and of course down here we've got some other books. We've got different rule sets we have. Here's the rule set that, we'll get to that in a second. I'm always talking about that rule set. I'll show you guys what it is. Here's some cars that I did for Gaslands. I'm not going to pursue that. I don't have time to do World War II stuff in Gaslands. And Gaslands is a fun rule set, but just like DBA, it's got issues with the way it's written, and well, what is the meaning of this sentence? And I only have so much time. We've got some different books down here, Panzer colors and the like. Okay, don't be scared by this. It is rather large. But one of the reasons it's rather large is because everything's in a plastic thing, so that's going to add some thickness to it. But this is the rule set that I'm really happy with, and it's out of print. It's called The Face of Battle. It's very crunchy, but it's not abstract at all. And maybe one day I'll get around to playing it again. And if I do, I will definitely do a live play of it. I've talked about it quite a bit. I'm really happy with it. It's not for everybody, but you know, it's very, very crunchy, and you've got to be really into World War II for it to scratch you in the right places. And it is thick. What else? That's probably it. I'm not going to go in the closet. The closets aren't well designed. They don't hold a whole lot of stuff in there. You have to move 4 things out of the way to get to 1. Rick's not here. Why does your life revolve around him? He's buying more Halloween crap, probably. He's the patron saint of Halloween. Don't you know that? Let's see. Anything you guys made comments? Mr. Hoffman, welcome. Oh, let's see the dinosaur. All right, I'll go grab Steggy. So, I had this thing where I wanted to paint a dinosaur because I think it'd be cool to come up with a game where you could play dinosaurs. And I actually have a set of rules. I'm not going to dig it out. It's called Cretaceous. Somebody came up with it as a starting point. I'll tilt the camera here in a second. You know, where it's like, you know, you have a mission, like, you know, maybe you're the Stegosaurus mother and you have your baby and you got to get across the board and, you know, and somebody else is trying to intercept you. So it's kind of like, you know, one of those games where everybody has objectives and they conflict with each other. And let's see if this lighting is decent. So all this is a plastic toy. And this is actually my first attempt at, let me think of what it's called, Zenithal. Right? Zenithal, for people that are normal and don't know what Zenithal is, because I didn't know what it was, is, man, I wish this wasn't so glary, but it is what it is. That's when you spray the whole thing black and then you kind of create this like highlights with white, and then you go when you actually apply the colors in a glaze, almost like a watercolor-ish. So it's actually painting the opposite of what I normally do. Because I normally, when I paint, I'll do the darkest things and then highlight up. So I'm painting the darkest things and then I'm adding lighter colors as higher layers. I've always painted that way. And this is like watercolors, it's the opposite. So like if you want something a light color, you need to paint that, like everything in that light color. And then you just end up basically, you're basically doing washes. So it's the opposite of what I normally do. But I think it turned out pretty well for $3 or $2 or, you know. But I did this and just I ran out of steam because it just took a long time to do, actually. This took probably 10 hours to do the Stegosaurus. And it was a lot of fun looking at plastic toys online and, you know, which ones are affordable. And, you know, a lot of them are made not in any particular scale, you know. But, you know, you don't have time for everything. You know, you don't have time. I don't have time for everything. So I got to pick and choose what I'm going to do. So what I really enjoyed last year is basically like working on my World War II stuff. Because if I get tired of something, I'm like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and just do something different, you know. Not like, well, I got to build 12 more stands of Roman infantry, whether I want it or not, you know. But this is just a freaking plastic toy. That's all it is. Now, I tried to strip it, and it's just a lot of effort to strip it when you don't need it. So, I want to see a game that's like gas signs, but you kit bash your own dinosaur. They have a movie on that. Yeah, but the objective of this was just to, well, I just wanted to paint a dinosaur. Fuck it, you know. That was the first thing I was into, was dinosaurs before anything else, back in the 70s. So, yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. But it does take, you know, I could always paint it quicker, but, you know, you got like, look at the stripings to here on the, it was cool. It was fun to do. It was relaxing, you know. But it was fun to look at dinosaurs and find out, you know, who makes what dinosaur, and I want one of these, but it's just at the right scale, or they got to be kind of close or whatever. I just, I'm not interested in dinosaurs to do raptors. Kid is a dinosaur. I want dinosaurs that show up at if they were to show up like in a department store, they're gonna trash the place. Not like human-sized dinosaurs. I mean, I'm not interested in that. It's not very exciting. Not very exciting at all. I want something that's just like a small Godzilla, basically just creating all kinds of hell. And I'm old school. Dinosaurs didn't have fucking feathers. I mean, I don't want to do a T-Rex with feathers. That's stupid. That's a little too transgender for me. I think that was the trend like 10 years ago. Some of them had feathers, and I think they're dialing some of that back. There's just some things we're just never going to know, and that's okay. So, were Stegosaurus is really green? I don't know. Works for me, but anyways, I think this one turned out pretty good. Transgender Triceratosaurus Rex. Oh man. So yeah, here's the Steggy. So I ended up picking up two other ones that came with this one. It was an Ankylosaurus and which is the one I was painting next. But I just ran out of steam. It just took too long, to do it. And you're working on something and it takes a long time. It's like, well, that's going to keep other things from happening. But I'll tell you what, I'm really enjoying not having to build an army, that I spend half of a year working on. And that was definitely the right decision for me. And the local people they're still playing DBA. Actually, I haven't gone over there and played with them probably in 6 months. I haven't gone over there and played since it got hot. And it's just starting to cool down now, but I'm just too busy, I had fun hanging out with them at the convention, but I've just kind of moved on what I'm doing. I wish them well. It's no hard feelings. It's got nothing to do with the local people that did it. I've put all I can into that game, trying to promote it. I can't continue playing the game and not take pictures of it and promote it on all the websites. And it's keeping me from doing other things that I really like. So it's time to just move on. So. Ran out of steam painting 15mm and Blue Moon AWI. Won't attempt to paint. Yeah. They'll probably take them. I don't know whether they'll give you something for it, but look, sometimes you just need them out of your life. I did a big purge on video games yesterday, and there's video games that from the console that either were given to us and they don't want them back, and I'm talking about like a decade ago, right? Or ones that we got and they weren't very good. I'm just going to trade them in. I mean, I don't give a shit if they give me $1 for them. I want them out of my life. You need to you need to minimize how much stuff you have in. And as far as gamers go, because you gamers collect all kinds of shit. I don't think it's a gamer problem. I think it's a people problem. People just collect a lot of shit. I don't have very many things as far as gamer goes, and that's fine. And I have plenty. I could never buy another miniature and still have plenty of things to paint. My 15mm lead pile, I don't know how I'm going to move it. I don't think I can pick it up. I don't think I can pick it up safely. It weighs like over 80 pounds. And so I may have to break it down, and that's just the 15mm stuff. Of course, that's most of it anyways. So I'm going to have to package that up in small boxes, probably get it out of here. Make sure, luckily the house does not have a subflooring, or probably go through the subflooring. But that's my plan this weekend, I have to cut some of that down and start packaging all this up. I don't think there's that much I'm actually going to get rid of, because I've already done that several times. I've done two or three trades with Noble Knight, and I had a good experience with them doing that. And I just don't have other stuff to do with them, or stuff that I want to get rid of. I don't really want to get rid of any of the books that I have, and I don't have that many. So yeah, I can't really get rid of any of those. But that bookcase should be able to play to fit in my new area. The new area on the house is really cool. It has a built-in shelf that has these drawers that is going to be wonderful for all the things that are yet to be built, that they can be stored in there in an organized fashion. I'm really looking forward to that. When did I finally get someone to buy your house? I don't recall seeing you post anything about that. Where you got off to? Well, I've been really kind of, the problem with giving people updates is when things don't go according to plan, then you have to update people about the bad news. And I don't really like to say that, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I don't do that, because it's not in my nature to not do what I'm going to say. So the house was on market for a couple months, and we probably got 100 visitors. We got a lot of traffic. But who the fuck would buy a house now? Why would you buy a house when the interest rates are there, or where they at? So the only reason that we were selling is we had an opportunity to move in, to assume a mortgage that was really low of a coworker that my wife knew. But we had to sell our house, in other words, in order to do that. And so we had hundreds, probably over 100 people that came to look at the house, and only 2 offers. And the first one was just, they wanted too much. They wanted us to give them money and all kinds of stuff. It wasn't a good offer. And it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that we got the second offer. And you just have to find the right buyer. You have to find the right house that they're looking for. And I mean, this is a great house. It's just the only reason that we're looking to move is because, we're moving from a house that's almost 30 years old. You wouldn't be able to tell this house was 30 years old, but, to one that's 2 years old. So at a less, at a lower mortgage rate than we're paying, and we had a good mortgage rate, but. So I didn't want to really advertise it until, and I mean, I guess they could cancel and not do it as well, but we're keeping their deposit, So that's not likely to happen. As a matter of fact, when we moved into this place, I had set it up so that we were closing on the condominium that I lived in at the time, and my wife moved in. We got married, she moved in with me. And we closed on that the same day that we were going to close on this house. Or within a matter of days or something like that. A day or some I think it wasn't more than a day. So we closed on the other house, and the realtor says, hey, the house that you're getting ready to move into, the seller is backing out of it. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be good because we're homeless. We literally, we sold our last place for like a cash closing. It's like, because the person was coming out of town. They're going to use the condo as they had their kid or something that was going to go to UF, and they were going to use it at that and then rent it out, the other rooms or something like that. So that was their plan with the condo. So we came here and it's like, they're going to back out, and then it was like, well, we're going to sue the pants out of them because that's, and it didn't come to that. They had like this minute of revelation, or they freaked out at the last minute, and it went through. But even when you're honorable and you do everything you're supposed to do, there's still that wild card. So I really didn't want to talk about it, because as soon as I say, hey, this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen, it's almost like I got to owe everybody an explanation, and I don't want to relive that kind of stuff. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, or I just won't say I'm going to do it. Or I'll say, maybe, and then, you never what it is. But not like, I'm going to do this, and then you don't do it. Like, I know a lot of people are that way, but I have different faults other than that one. Or maybe doing what you actually say is actually a fault. Oh well, so be it. It's easier to keep your lies straight if you don't say any. So I bet I'm excited to have a bigger hobby room. My house is in a neighborhood of 120 years old. Jesus, Florida's not 120 years old. You'd be like in a freaking Temucuan teepee. If you lived in Florida, a 120-year-old house. Oh, man. No, I don't need a bigger hobby room. I have no problem. I'm actually fine with this house. There's just some issues that were going to come up of of maintenance, and we just don't want to put more money in this house. And we've got situations that are happening next door that the guy's going to run that neighborhood into the ground because he's not doing any maintenance on his house. And this opportunity happened to us that just kind of fell in our lap. So that's why we're kind of running with it. But I actually like our house. I actually like my room. It's not very efficient. I don't really need more area. I guess I could have put 2 of these on that wall, but then where do I put the couch? I have to put the bookcase like in a corner. I could have put the bookcase there in the corner. This on this side, I guess I could have put the couch here, and it might have worked. But, I just say, well, the couch is just tying up a lot of space, but I really can't use it. It's just not designed well. This is actually, when we got this was actually my daughter's room. Because it's connected to the master through the bathrooms. It's perfect, and she had a little crib here and everything. And then when she got older, she got moved over to the other part of the house. My hobby room I've always had a painting room. When I lived with my folks, obviously I had a drafting table. My room was my painting room. But ever since I moved out in, 1991, I've always had a room that was for painting. I can't imagine having an area that it's like, I had a friend of mine who was like, are you getting painting done? No, because I got to set up all my paints and I got to put them away and all that kind of stuff. And by the time I pull everything out, I said, yeah, you waste 30 minutes and 30 minutes. It's like, you can't do that stuff. You won't get anywhere. So yeah, I have to have a place, set up. But it's a room that I could share with somebody else. My wife had some kind of crafting hobby. She could have a crafting area, whatever, so. But yeah, so that's pretty much, I wanted to do a tour of this because, I'm going to want to look back at it in 10 years and go, oh, yes, I remember that, or I don't remember your floors being that color, or, So I'm always dropping things on my floor, but this is wood that's just, it's tile, it looks like wood, it's a light color, so everything pretty much stands out. The only thing there's a couple things I'm not looking forward to the other house, and the biggest one is the internet. The internet here is ass kicking. For many years, it was atrocious. We've been here 20 years, and probably 17 and a half or 18 of the years we had atrocious internet. Only in the last 2 has it been excellent, which is why we can do this kind of programming in 1080, in HD, So I'm not going to have the ability to do cable modem there, and I'm not going back to DSL. And so we're going to look at what the options are of doing that. That is probably the biggest downside of all of it. And we're going back to non-tile floor, not carpet. God forbid. I don't want to live in a house that has any carpet. There's enough dust even when you clean it up. But it has the we'll call it pergo, even though it's not pergo, that type of floor, which is what we used to have before this. So 6 1/2 dozen of the other. I really like this floor, but it's hard as nails. It's unforgiving. But you got to be careful if you spill coffee here. You got to clean it up quicker. You're going to have it in the grout, because it's a light color grout. But it's just only because this fell in our lap. Because I actually like our house, but it's got issues that are going to come up that are going to require a lot of money that we just don't want to put into the house. For a house that's a couple decades old, over a couple decades old, and a neighbor that is just not taking care of his house, and his fence falls down and doesn't give a shit, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's like, he's him and the other guy next to him are gonna run this neighborhood into the ground, and there's nothing you could do, so that's what it is. So is my room gonna be better? Yeah, but this room's pretty good. I've seen what other people have, and I've really got no complaints here. It served me well, but I am going to look at other, even though I don't want to throw money at the problem, you know, I've had this table for, oh geez, I've probably had it for 8 years, and it was a big step. It was a big step up because of the height of it. So I would like to find something that has even 3 or 4 more inches, because one of the things, like if I have to replace this chair, and I kind of have to, unfortunately, because this thing pops and creaks and does all kinds of things that, happens even though you're just sitting your ass on it. Eventually it gets tired of carrying your ass around. I need a specific height. If it's too tall, then I'm going to get hunched over and I'll get a crick in my neck, and that actually happened. And it's like a headache that just cannot be solved. So it would be nice to have something that has a little bit more height, but I don't need one of those that's automatic move. Those things are way too expensive. Those like freaking $600 for something that just sits there. And this thing doesn't move. So if you have a table that moves or shakes a little bit, that's not really going to work for, our hobby. So this thing is actually pretty freaking solid. I'm going to look and see if there's other things out there. If not, I'll just go buy another one like it so that they match, lighting, but it may take me a while before we get a dedicated area that looks right, because I'm not just going to start buying shit. One of the things when you buy things that actually becomes really important, at least for me, is you're going to buy things and then you take them home and they may not work. And it's not to use them for free and you not pay for them. It's just that, I think this will work, and then you get it home and it doesn't work. So it needs to be easy to return. So, you don't want to buy something from a place that's very difficult to return things to, like, IKEA. I like IKEA, but you got to be careful, because if you buy things from IKEA, we don't have an IKEA in our town. So I got to drive an hour and a half to go and replace it. So, you got to be, think before you buy kind of stuff. So, you're going to get the Allied tanks and Soviet tank books to go? Probably not anytime soon. I'm in no condition to be buying stuff like that. But I got stuff on Allied and Soviet stuff anyways. The only reason I picked those 2 books up, and I did check how much they were, mine were $5. And I wasn't going to leave them on the table there for $5. That's the reason I got them. Did I need them? Absolutely not. Were they $5 worth? Yeah, that's why I got them. I didn't get them. If they had been normal price, I wouldn't have even thought about it. So sometimes you just pick up things like that. That's how I like to buy clothes. I don't like to man, I need to buy a shirt. Well, you buy it. But if you're in some store and it's like, man, this is $8. Well, screw this. I'm taking it. That's a good deal. So, but anyhow, this is my home office here. And of course the computer's here too. One thing I'm never going back to is a mainframe computer. Honestly, I don't really use this computer much other than for, streaming this kind of stuff. You beat me on the $5, but you spent a total of $28 after taxes and shipping for all 4. That's a pretty good deal, man. That's hard to beat. It sucks that there's 2 German books, but only 1 for the Allies and only 1 for the Soviets. It's like, all these pro-German things. I know they were organized and they had cool symbols and stuff like that, but, the Germans need somebody to fight. Is there Allied stuff? Is the Allied tanks is there stuff for them in the desert? Or is it just Northwest Europe stuff? That'd be interesting to know, but I'm not going to be buying anything hobby-wise anytime soon, other than things to get my desk area in place. And there is a lot. I mean, if you go online and say pictures of hobby work areas, some people have some literal castles and some awesome areas to work in, Yeah, I can't get rid of that damn heart icon either. I don't know why it's there. It wasn't there a year ago. And I can't see. Let me something check. You've typed something behind that. That damn heart's in the way. So things you don't want to hear a surgeon say. Oh, the heart's in the way. All right, just get rid of it. But there is a plethora of stuff online of, if you look at people's hobby spaces, just amazing stuff. One of the things I'd like to do is something where I can magnetize and then put all these magnetic tools just up, up here so they're easy to grab. But honestly, the biggest thing that I did recently is just put these little cup holders, either for your painting water or your drink. I'm always got something in my mouth while I'm, especially if I'm talking a lot. I always go through a lot of liquids. So having this off your table is just one less thing you got to worry about. Full chapter, Desert 4043. Only one chapter? Yeah, those kind of books you can't go to a bookstore and find them. They just don't have. The only store that had, way back in the day, that had really good wargaming type of stuff, a bookstore, was Borders. Borders in the early 2000s had some great stuff that you would never see in a Barnes and Noble, that you would never see in a Books A Million or Walden Books or any of the, B. Dalton's, any of the other stuff that they had. I'm not going to comment about the stuff in your mouth. That's right. I'm always drinking liquids. I am. Especially if I'm doing a lot of talking. So yeah, Borders used to have all kinds of stuff like that. Those are kind of books that you probably would find at Borders. I was in Barnes and Noble about 6 months ago, and I came across, I want to say it was Casemate Publishing. It may not have been. But it was some specific, almost like war game related type, like an Osprey book with like much more war game related stuff and color plates and all that kind of stuff. And it was just in a Barnes and Noble, which I don't think has a really good selection of the stuff that we're really interested in. And I didn't pick it up because it was like Panzer Grenadiers and what's that area that the cauldron where they got cut off in Lithuania or Latvia, the Courland. There's like a Courland pocket type thing. So I went back like 3 weeks later because this was a bookstore that wasn't in my town. We don't actually have a Barnes and Noble. We did, but we don't anymore. And they didn't have any. They didn't have anything. They didn't have any cool books. They didn't have any like specific stuff like that. Other than like just generic stuff. So. So yeah, it's rare for me to go to a bookstore and find something that I'm interested in. Now, why is this particular camera frozen now? Let's see. Unfreeze now. There we go. Technology is great when it works. Of course it's frozen. I caught it and I fixed it. Is that quick enough for you? Technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, it's annoying. As I like to say, I wish it was never invented. I have enough problems at work. I don't like bringing the problems here at home. So, but yeah, I just wanted to do kind of a short video for my sake also, because I may look at this in 5 years and go, man, that setup you had there was this, or what kind of a thing? Oh, one thing I didn't talk about at all is my television. So here's this TV that I have up here that I rarely use because I can't watch TV and work on things. I am a terrible multitasker. So that's probably going to come to the house, but I don't know. It's not going to be in my room. It's not useful to me. I can't even put something I've seen multiple times on there. I'll just be like, huh? And then my paint will dry, and I don't need that stuff. So. Oh man, it's over. Well, there's always next time. Is it? I don't know. There's no Q&A, so I guess it's over. So, anyhow, so in the last year, I've put together, I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 150 vehicles. I painted just shy of 100 of them, and had a great time doing it, and no regrets. I've been to two conventions in Orlando where I didn't play DBA. Didn't feel like playing it. Had no responsibilities to put anything on, and I will be continuing to do that. So yeah. So anyhow, that was the right decision as far as I'm concerned. But there's a lot of hobby options out there. I'm going to consider all of them before I start, as I like to say, throwing money at the problem. But I think what I'm going to do is just package everything up like in this room. Okay, like Tony's room, like all my paints, just fucking put them in a box. Okay, because when they come out, they're all going to be right there. You know, I'll probably do, and take things that are kind of in stages, like these stands that are finished or whatever. So probably all these together. But all my paints, I'm going to put them in a box. When they come out, they'll all be together. But I need a little bit more space than this, not a whole lot. I'd like to put all my, all the craft paints up here as well. They make holders for the craft paints that are a little bit bigger, and then and continue using these white things for something else. There's other kind of storage I can put for glues and things like that. But it's one of those things that, if I don't use them again, I've got my money's worth out of them. I didn't pay very much money for them. I don't want to get rid of them because they're perfectly fine, but I'd like to do something that keeps me a little bit more organized. Am I moving? Yes, we are on the 28th of this month. We're out of here. So, what is my favorite troop stand and vehicle you've painted? Man, I don't know if I could do that. That's, you want me to say it's that armored car named Lagertha, don't you? Well, that one was fun. I don't know that I have a preference. I like them all. No, I don't like them all. I didn't like the RSO at all. The only reason I got it is because I got it off of an eBay sale. But I didn't like the RSO at all. Even though it was cool with the magnet, being able to turn that turret all the way around. Am I staying in Florida or is it a big move? Oh, no. I'm just moving 15 miles north. And it's the town that I've worked in for 30 years. Or let's see, in April it'll be 30 years. Get my own. What about the other armored car that has blood on it? Remember that? So you can keep track of how much blood it spilled? I cut myself on it. No, the town that we're actually moving to is where I actually work. And that's not where I'm moving closer. That's just coincidence. It's only 17, 18 minute drive. So now it'll be 10. 9 or something like that, because it's on the other side of this little shit town that's full of cops. What are them shit towns full of cops? Like there's not enough crime through there. For whatever reason, there is just a crap ton of cop activity. So it's like a 45 mile an hour zone. No, put the cruise control on. Not going to get me, copper. I'm definitely going to be doing World War II only. I don't see doing anything else. But I do need to, it has, the other one has a garage. That's a lot more sealed. It's got a window next to the paint area with a bench. So I'm going to get an extractor there for the airbrush. Not that I really need that, but so that has that area that's good. The only thing is going to be the internet. I don't know. I got a bad feeling about this, Sarge. I got to stay positive. That's really the only negative about the whole situation is there's no cable available up there. I've been very happy with the internet service. Like I said, we've been here like 20 years. 18 of the years, the internet sucked here. Absolutely sucked. The last 2 years, we've been able to do these live shows. It's stellar. I think it's very good. And we got a business account, and my wife works from home frequently, so we use that. But we don't have that option where it's at, and it's not really out in the country. You could say it's out in the country, but it really isn't. It's just actually the next neighborhood they're building. It's going to have same thing as here. Okay, our next neighborhood over has fiber, right? They don't do it in this neighborhood. They never did it. Over there, next neighborhood, they're getting fiber. We can't get it in our neighborhood, so we'll see. I'm moving away. Satellite internet. Now, I think there's an option to get a T-Mobile tower or something like that, and we're on T-Mobile, so hopefully we can get something that works, even if it's just only for my streams. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. Bleeds and sweats World War II. Yeah. Hey, Joe, I'm moving closer to you. Vaguely. Yeah, it's just coincidental that it happens to be in that town that it is. But yeah, Joe's company won't put fiber on there. Dig trench and connect that fiber. Hey, Joe, can you hook me up? Damn AT&T fiber. They only put it where we're not at. But I'm sure we'll figure something out. I'll just have to spend another 20 years with shitty internet, and the last 2 will be good. But yeah, everything is better other than that. But like I said, it's just kind of those situations that we're moving. It's not that I dislike my house or that we need more space or that I don't like where it's located. Just kind of an opportunity that kind of fell in our lap and decided to run with it. So I just didn't want to comment on it because there's just a lot of wild cards. You get, people will say, hey, I'm interested, and then they don't come by, and, you just kind of have to just kind of keep a low profile, so. What's my favorite hobby tool I own? This bastard right here. This Tamiya thing is excellent. Did you finally get out and get one? Of course, you got to treat this like it's, like it's your favorite girlfriend, assuming you have more than one girlfriend, because you don't want to cut wire or something with this. This is well worth the $24 for it. I didn't think so. This one is a pizza chip right here, but we use this one to do all the nasty work. But this only cost half as much. And my wife was cleaning out the room, and look what she found. I didn't have to buy any. Now that I'm not building any models right now, is the pipe cleaners. So you can tighten them around something, and then just, when you're trying to get something to put together. So we got a whole stack of these. So I need to get all these things pretty well organized so that when we do open them up on the other side, I don't spend a long time looking for where the stuff is, which hopefully we won't do. And like I said, it may be, we're moving in 2 weeks, roughly. It may take me a month to get set up before my first feed. I don't think so, but we'll just have to see. I have a good mobile connection, but the problem with having a mobile connection is once YouTube senses that you're having a mobile connection, your video resolution is dumbed down to 720, and 720 sucks. The human body is a wonderful thing, but as soon as you see something that's better, and then you go back to what you had before, it just looks blurry as crap, and you just can't do this with 720. So I guess worst case scenario, I'll have to do that, but I'll do kind of a mini tour before I put everything together. I'm doing it for my sake too, just to kind of, go back and look and, hey, this is kind of cool, what you had it before. Amazon screwed up the order, decided not to order from them. I'll get a pair someday. Right now, it's not a must get. What colors did you use to paint the Panzer Gray? Holy shit, man, you got all night? I guess I should probably make a video on it. I kind of came up with my own formula. Back when we did 1/35th scale models in the early 90s, you just used Panzer Gray, right? Nobody ever thought anything different about it. And then all this stuff comes out. I leave World War II for 20 years, and the blue tinge or the not blue tinge, does it have a little bit of a blue tint? I don't know, all this kind of stuff. And some people use like a wash and all this. So I'm like, okay, well, I like that it has a little bit of blue. So what I ended up doing is I end up, mixing the mix that I use with black and adding Panzer Gray up till I get to the Panzer Gray. And then I use that Luftwaffe uniform to add a little bit of a blue to it. and then highlight that, and that's worked out pretty well for me. I don't like using washes or what's the thing that they use? Filters. I don't like using filters. That's just a way to buy more stuff you don't need. I'm not frugal, but I think everybody should try to be save where you can, because there's some things that you're going to want to spend money on, and we can't have everything. So, do I have any modern tanks? No, just not interested in it. Just not interested in modern tanks. The only thing, the closest I've gotten into interested in anything modern tanks is there's a board game that looks really interesting. I don't want to say the name of the board game is called Armageddon War. And it's made like by Devil Pig or something Pig, Flying Pig, something Enterprises. And you can look it up on Board Game Geek. It's called Armageddon War. And the art in it is just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's supposed to be like, like in 2030 in the Middle East. We're working our way to having that conflict. But I think there's like the U.S., Israel, Russia, Hezbollah or something like that, some ISIS state, a couple of them or whatever, and there's tanks and infantry, and they're just really, really pretty. I almost like, man, that would be really cool, but modern warfare just doesn't do anything for me. Is it Flying Pig Enterprises? You know which one I'm talking about? The covers are beautiful. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I was really tempted to get it a couple of years ago. So I'm like, the great thing about a board game is there's somebody who's made a video about how to play it. So watch the video, and the gameplay just left me kind of empty. It just didn't have the kind of mechanics I was interested in. So, but it's beautiful. But the more modern stuff, I don't know. The only modern conflict I thought was really cool was the first war game I ever played was actually a modern conflict. Relatively. It's a game called Barlev, and I don't remember what the name of it. It's like 1974, so it came out like 1 year after the 1973 war. And it was the first war game I ever played, probably around 1985, 86 or something like that. And it's a really cool game where it's actually two different theaters, and the Israelis have to split their forces and decide who's going to go fight the Syrians and who's going to fight the Egyptians. And it's kind of a game that the map is not attractive at all. It's almost similar to, say, like a Panzer Blitz or a Panzer Leader type of counters. And it's like that. It's in factors. But the shooting distances are relatively short. But other than that, I really haven't played any modern games. It just doesn't really interest me. Just doesn't really interest me. Especially, if you're talking about something like, if you're doing like the old NATO Warsaw Pact stuff, you got stuff like, the German tanks or the Bundeswehr tanks and the U.S. tanks. They all have the same paint scheme now. They all have that 3-color paint scheme. It's like you just lost a level of, you can make them different from each other kind of thing. It just doesn't interest me at all. There's just nothing there for me. Now, I did consider, and I've talked about this before, is, I used to play Command Decision and Combined Arms, and I thought it would be interesting to do like a NATO/Warsaw Pact conflict in like 1959 or 1960, so that you've got the 3 different tiers of tanks. Because that started to go away like in the early 60s. Where there's just kind of like the main battle tank concept. But before that, you had, for the U.S., you had like Walker Bulldogs, M41s as the light tank. You had Pattons that were the mid tank, and then M103s as the heavy tank. And that's kind of cool to have the 3 different steps instead of just like, here's your tank and they're all that. And just kind of, from a modeling perspective, it's kind of cool to have all those different things. You do the same thing with the Soviets. Well, I don't know, what would the Soviets have as a light tank? PT-76s? PT-76s, T-55s, or maybe T-55s, T-55, T-62s, and then the T-10s or whatever the hell they were, the heavy tanks. So went back, looked at Combined Arms, no stats for those early vehicles. I think Combined Arms goes into like maybe late 70s, early 80s, that's it. Anything earlier than that, they don't have any stuff on. It's just kind of a shame. But um, I guess you could probably come up with your stats yourself, but and there's probably other games that can do that, like Cold War Commander and things like that have come out since then. But no, never really delved into the modern stuff. A lot of people that I think that like doing the modern stuff fall into the category of, or at least when I first started gaming, they were like, well, I want an American tank because I'm American. And I've always been of the thing is I don't want to play what I already am. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to be an American. It just means that I already am American, so I'd like to role play a little bit, Modern War never interested me as a gamer. I think the closest to modern goes Vietnam. Wouldn't mind doing the French in Vietnam. I don't think the French want to refight that. Vietnam, I had a friend of mine who was all about Vietnam. He was, the way I am about World War II, he was all about Vietnam. I just never got it. I mean, I guess if you wanted to play, Vietnam type music in the background while you're playing it, I guess that would maybe be an appeal to it. But what's the term? The term of warfare. I know how you're going to guess when I'm throwing something out like that, but I'm not really interested in any asymmetrical type warfare. I think asymmetrical is a word I'm thinking of. You basically have like, sword to flame. You got like natives versus, civilized, overly technological advanced sides. I'm not interested in that kind of disparity, So I don't think they do either. Yeah. So, I'm not interested in doing, Zulus versus the British, or I'm not interested in doing, Viet Cong versus, the U.S. And it's just not my kind of thing. So, World War II. Speaking of World War II, I saw a movie, Asymmetrical. Okay, yeah. I couldn't think of what the word. It's one of those things that you hear, you said it a couple times, and you haven't used it in like 5 years. Like, how are you supposed to remember that? So I saw this movie. It's a Japanese movie of all time. I think it's a Japanese movie. It's on Amazon. It's about the supposed building of the battleship Yamato. It's like the War of Archimedes or something like that. And I'm like, and it had some interesting battle scenes with the Yamato there. It's funny because it starts the end of the beginning. So you should at least watch the first 5 minutes. There's some interesting action scenes with the battleship. Its final sailing when the U.S. Navy decides to go all in on it. The rest of the movie is just kind of weird, but yeah, I saw that and I started watching something else, but it's just hard to sit there and watch World War II stuff sometimes because that just doesn't look believable. You like the idea of Zulu Wars, but that's because one of my favorite movies is Zulu. I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember liking it, but never really got into Victorian period. I said, one of these things, several years ago, I'm like, okay, well, it'd be cool to have kind of a Victorian World War where you got the British and the French and the British, and they're all kind of at war, or they're in some kind of a quasi-war with each other, but they kind of use the natives, and there's some of the natives that side with them, and sometimes the natives are against them, and sometimes the Europeans can cooperate with each other against the natives. It could be really a kind of a fluid situation. Did I ever get around to watching Jason and the Argonauts? No, it wasn't available to watch anywhere free. There's just so many things to watch. I haven't avoided it. It's just not available. I haven't watched much television since the last time you came on my show. I don't think I've watched much since then. I did finally see the last Indiana Jones movie, and I was surprised that what was it that I said? That the British didn't have Roman triremes floating up and down the Thames to stop the London Blitz. Who are they trying to fool? So it's funny because, my daughter was up last weekend, so we're like, she wanted to watch the Indiana Jones movie. It's like, all right, well, we had to buy it, which, is a lot cheaper than both of us going to the movie theater. Not that I'll probably ever watch it again, but It wasn't as bad as I was expecting to be. Now, keep in mind, the first movie is like is my favorite movie ever. Okay, there's only very few faults in it, mainly the RPG, and Raiders of the Lost Ark that's my go-to. Somebody says, what's your favorite movie? It's that one. Okay, so I'm a fan of the genre. The last one was not as bad as I was expecting it to be, but the action is just beyond stupid, over the top. It's so bad that we rolled into watching the latest Bond movie that I know everybody hates. I've never seen it, and I was watching it with my daughter, and we probably got a third of the way through it. The action in that is excellent compared to the absurdities that are in that Indiana Jones movie, and it's still better than the fourth one. So, Rome Total War 2. I do too. TV is boring, pretty much. You saw the new Quiet on the Western Front, utterly hated it. What did you hate about it? You know what I hated about it? I hated about that the guy went from... One of the problems that I have with the way movies are written is you'll have a character that has a dramatic character change. He'll either go from being afraid to like a badass, or he'll go from being a badass to being afraid. Just big shifts, just big paradigm shifts in their personality. And it just happens too quick, and it just doesn't seem like believable. Like, for instance, Game of Thrones, okay? Last season was just garbage because it was rushed. Not necessarily that anything happened the way that it happened, but it was just garbage because it was done that way. Same thing with All Quiet on the Western Front. The guy went from being a coward to getting bloodlust to within moments being like, oh, let me try to patch this guy up that I just tried to kill. Like, it's not believable. Could that have really happened? Maybe, but it just doesn't sound very believable to me. The way that was all handled. And why would you show flamethrowers and it not be the Germans? I know other people use flamethrowers, but there's a couple of weapon systems that are specifically targeted for a particular audience. There's just some weapon systems that are like, flamethrower. Germans. Did other people use flamethrowers? Absolutely. I came across a miniature company that made Japanese flamethrowers. Like, I don't remember the Japanese using freaking flamethrowers, or Russian flamethrowers. I have Russian flamethrower guys. I'm never going to paint them until I paint German flamethrower guys, because that's just more typical of what you associate with them, it would be like if you're painting tanks, right? And you got some T-34s, and you're going to paint captured T-34s before you paint ones that the Russians actually have. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I would never do that. You hated the notion that the German troop general would order his troops to launch an attack right when the war is ending. No soldier would ever do more. Yeah, the pacing, it was silly. I just didn't like the guy where the guy just like, he was a coward, which I get it. I'd probably be the same way. I'd be scared of dying. And then your buddies die and you get bloodlust. I can totally see that happening. But then as soon as, he came down from that bloodlust in a moment and he wanted to patch up the guy, he was just trying to kill. I'm like, that's just out of character. It's just, could that have happened? It just doesn't seem very believable to me. Gotta go. Looking forward to seeing you come back on in November. I think I'll finally be back to World War II by that time. Excellent. You hated the fact that basically ignore the character's growth of Paul and his friends by just skipping ahead so far. I didn't like that scene where he was scavenging for food with the other guy. I just seemed like it was just an unnecessary scene. And it just dragged a lot. But that's what happens. There's some things that I've seen that the action is so awesome that something else that is just ho-hum seems like it is just dreadfully slow. And you just can't stand it. And that happened with Band of Brothers. There's so many episodes of Band of Brothers that just have so much action in them. In particular, the one where they're attacking Carentan. I think it's like the third episode or something like that. That one's awesome. Where they take the freaking cameraman. He's going in with the guys where they're clearing the house. That's the kind of movie I want to see, right? The Market Garden episode was pretty good. You get to the Battle of the Bulge episode where it's all about the medics. I'm like, when's this going to end? This sucks. And it's not because it sucks, but you just got used to it being at a certain pace, and then you're like so freaking bored in the scene, you know? I don't know. I've only seen it once, so maybe if I watched it again, I wouldn't think the same thing. But that just, you know, sometimes you just get used to something, and it's a, you know, the whole movie was an unnecessary scene, to be honest. I like the fact that they made it as graphic as they did. They need to make war movies that graphic. It is freaking horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Now, those of us that play war games our entire life, I've played my war games my entire life, and I'm proud to say that I am a devout pacifist every day. But I want to commit genocide and you know, and not take prisoners and do horrible things on the tabletop. But it is absolutely horrible stuff. And it's just this fascination that we have with machines and trying to outdo each other and all that kind of stuff that just, I don't know, it's just, maybe it's part of our psyche or whatever. I mean, obviously I'm a pacifist. War is bad, but you know, it's kind of, you know, the way I say it, you know, is like people that like horror movies. You know, horror movies, you don't want to see innocent people get murdered, but I guess people that are into horror movies really do. I don't know what it is. I'm not into horror movies, but you know, we've played that stuff our entire life, and you know, we don't give it a second thought. It is just a game, you know, but it is horrible stuff. So I didn't mind them showing it to be as gory as it is, because it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Graphic parts were the only parts worth watching in the film. Could have done other things, waste my 2 hours. What did you think about the Red Baron movie? It's about 5 or 10 years. Yeah, it's probably 10 years old now. The special effects with the planes and the balloons and stuff was just incredible. The storyline of Red Baron, I couldn't care less. You know? Your GMA, your grandma? Girl, man, I don't know what GMA is. Grandma, really into the series specific. So here's the funny thing is, it's available on Amazon, and I started watching it again a couple of weeks ago and forgot I started watching it and only made it through one episode. But I was giving it a rewatch again because I didn't like it as much as, I don't think anybody liked The Pacific as much as Band of Brothers, but I don't know as much about it. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, if I know 10 things about the European conflict, I know maybe one about the Pacific one. But I figured, maybe it'll spur me to like read other things about different stuff. But yeah, Red Baron is the Red Baron movie. It's a German movie that came out like 7 or 8 years ago. Your GMA is really into series specific. She has the book and the steelbox case. I've never seen it. Is it like Band of Brothers? It is, except I only saw one episode. I felt like it jumped around a lot instead of it kind of following one unit around. Even though there would have been like one episode that focused on certain characters. It just jumped around from island to island too much. But I didn't hate it. It just wasn't Band of Brothers. And I don't know that it was a whole lot because it was the Pacific as much as the way it was done. It was kind of, it jumped around a whole lot. You know, and it has a lot of actors that you've seen in other stuff before. So it's like, I'm watching it again. I'm like, oh, that's the guy from, you know, one of the main guys is one of the guys who was on 24. I'm like, oh, okay, I know him from 24. And like, oh, great. Here's the guy. Here's the New York guy that's whatever his name is that was in Walking Dead and The Punisher. You know, it's like I prefer things that have unknown folks. You know, that you can kind of they can be somebody else. You know. Your grandmother, okay? Just got back from the freeway nightmare. What's going on? Well, I just did a tour So you'll have to go back and see it of my room, which I've been talking about doing for a while, because this weekend I got to pack it up. So I don't know that I'm going to do a show this weekend. Maybe I'll do one early, but I can't imagine working on anything just to put it away. I mean, I already got lots of stuff that's put away and it's not finished. Let's see if I can give you a glimpse. There's just a freaking mess of shit in here. Let's see. Let's see what we got in here. Let's kind of give you an idea of what I don't need to double down on this anymore. And this is why I wasn't painting things. I knew the move was coming. You know, I've got this box here where I've got pieces of the 45 millimeter guns, and I got all the Soviet trucks and some martyrs and stuff like that. I can't start painting that stuff. Then I have to throw it in here, and it's, you know, it could get chipped up, and I'm not gonna have time to finish it. So I got lots of stuff to do. I got lots of stuff to work on. Look at these cute little. Look at these cute little guys. You know, they're all finished. You know, so. Speaking of Walking Dead, I'm up to Negan's arrival. Ugh, and I'm utterly loathing it. I'm trying to watch the show fully for the first time. I know Negan is such put off my out. Just wait till you run into I was gonna say the tribe. One of the groups that's all like the freaking, it's like progressive industrial women from Germany. It's like some industrial heavy metal rock band women. I'm like, come on, man. You know, that show wasn't worth a damn once they got rid of the governor. In season 3, it just went downhill from there. And honestly, the only reason I watched it was because everybody else was watching. They give you an opportunity to talk about it with somebody. You know, that's the only reason I watched Game of Thrones. Everybody was watching Game of Thrones. You know. So, just like that box, I got many boxes like that. So I probably have another 60 vehicles that are complete that just aren't painted yet. And we'll get to them, you know. But I knew the move was coming about 3 months ago. So I was like, man, I just can't really get. It's hard to get motivated to finish all this stuff when you know it's just kind of, you know, I don't want to get, you know, it's almost like if you know you're going to get interrupted. If you know you're going to get interrupted, there's just no point in even getting started because it's just another interruption. Definitely agree with you about the governor. Yeah, he was great. I like that actor too. I like David Morrissey. So, I didn't think he was that bad a guy, except for the part where he went and killed the soldier. There was a soldier at some point that would like crashed or something with a helicopter, and he executed him. Like, okay, he's not that good a guy. But you know, he kept his daughter around. You don't know what you're gonna do if that happens to your daughter. You know, it's like, you know, he likes whiskey. He can't be that bad a guy. You know, it's David Morrissey. I like him. Anyhow, yeah. So that's where we're at. So we may do a show on Saturday. Or may not. I may need a distraction from this hell that I'm in. But I think I just need to have an adult beverage, put a small box together, put the books in. Go in, put the other books. Okay, we're out of books. All right, these are off to the side. All the painting stuff, all the stuff that I have on my table, like, okay, want to keep this. All the paints go in one box. You know, we'll get through it eventually. You know, but unboxing it, it's probably going to take me a while to do that because I really don't want to... I don't really want to. It's another opportunity to go ahead and purge stuff that might have gotten through the last 2 purges, because I'm definitely a fan of minimizing as much stuff as you can. You know, if you haven't used something in 20 years, why keep it? You know, it just gets to be the point, like, I'm just not going to ever use this again. It's the same thing that I did with the Noble Knight, the stuff that I sold for Noble Knight. I'm like, why do I have this game? I have zero motivation to learn how to play this game that I've had for 25 years. I'm never going to get around to doing that. If I do that, I'm not building a tank or something like that. So if I do nothing else with the vehicles that I have, I've already done a heck of a lot more with them than that the monies came from in selling the things that I hadn't done a damn thing with. So I feel pretty good about that. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Like I said, this may be the last show from here. That's why I wanted to look at, kind of do a tour of what I've got here, my setup, and the other setup, like I said, other than the internet, I think will be better for you guys, because I definitely can see having 2 tables and, make it a little bit more modern. I'm only concerned about the internet. So it'll all work out, it'll all work out. So you're zombied out. Now that Disney has introduced zombie stormtroopers for Star Wars, oh boy, I'm zombied out and ready for wargaming. Yeah, Disney's kind of like the Midas touch, except everything they touch turns into a turd. If old man Disney came back, he'd slap the shit out of some of these people. That's all I'm saying. All right, folks. Thanks for coming by, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Be safe and see you soon. Bye-bye.